I actually am internationally acclaimed because I have grandparents in the Netherlands and they love me very much.
And I caught myself looking at one, like dying raisin on my spoon, and I was like, am I a depressed 20-year-old or like a really health-conscious 45-year-old?
Guys, don't take your pants off at an airport. It's just like my first piece of advice.
Okay, my name is Anya Voltz. I'm 18 years old, about to be 19, and I'm from Rutland, Vermont.
I'm Matt Cruz. I have been doing comedy since I was like 13 or 14, and I'm 19 now, and I go to Champlain.
My name is Colin Ryan. I am a speaker and a stand-up comedian, and I'm 35 years old.
When I was maybe 12 or so, I watched, and this is not age appropriate, but I watched Sarah Silverman's HBO special, Jesus is Magic, and I thought it was so funny. And I still think it's really funny, but I can definitely see why a 12-year-old thought it was funnier. And I was like, I'd never seen a female stand-up before, and that was definitely when it planted the seed.
I started doing comedy about 6 years ago, and I took a comedy class, and I only did it because it was like the scariest thing I could imagine doing. I grew up loving stand-up comedy, like worshiping comedians, but never thought I could do it. So when I actually signed up for a class, it was less about maybe I'll be good at this or it'll be part of my life in the future, and more about just, wow, why does this scare me so much? And so when I went to the class, I was like, wow, this is terrifying. Like that really struck me about the experience, maybe more than even trying to be funny, was like facing a fear.
Burlington is not really a good comedy city as it is. Like, it's a good comedy city, but no one moves to Burlington to do comedy. People move away from Burlington to do comedy. And so I feel like, everyone sort of is like on the same page about that, or like we all really want something bigger. And here you have to work harder and do more searching to get something bigger. Speaking of skipping 25 years of my life, I've been thinking about kids a lot lately for some reason. And I decided that I'm gonna be not a shitty parent. So I'm gonna be good, and I don't care. I think what I mean by not a shitty parent is that I don't care about the decisions my kid makes, as long as, or not decisions, but I don't care how my kid is as long as he's not doing heroin. So we're just not gonna live in Vermont. But
I think that comedy is a way to talk about the human experience, and to be on stage is to kind of put yourself in this vulnerable place, and everybody kind of relates to that. And then it's to sort of face that fear, I guess. But more importantly, it's to find ways to say things that people laugh and people respond to.
I really like when stand-up comedians can talk about just personal or taboo things, things that make people uncomfortable in day-to-day conversation. And there's just something so satisfying about that you couldn't say this at a dinner table, but here you are saying it in front of 50 dinner tables.
I do think it's the ultimate excuse, though. If you don't want to hang out with someone, you're trying to get out of plans. Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't that day. I have to get an abortion. You're out of those plans. There's no follow-up questions. They're got it. You have a lot on your plate right now. We're not gonna go out and get pizza on Saturday. Joke's on you. Planned Parenthood isn't open on Saturdays. I just don't want to hang out.
And there are and some comedians have jokes about family members dying, or about things that if you were to just bring it up in just in a casual conversation, it would be uncomfortable.
My first joke, I don't tell it anymore. It was I was either 12 or 13 when I wrote this. It was about what I want to have happen to me after I die, with respect to burial or cremation. And so I said that I would like to be taxidermied and put in an easy chair reading the Bible in my children's house so that my grandkids would just never know that I had died, and they would just, you know, live in the impression that they had a live-in grandfather who just read the Bible all day. And I don't tell it anymore.
I think I end up more understanding of what I was going through after having done jokes about it.
I got my associate's degree this past semester, and I didn't want to go back to school because I was like, I want to invest my time in stand-up. That doesn't necessarily mean I want to be a stand-up, but I want to be in comedy forever, and this is my version of college right now.
My first joke I ever told was in that first class, and I kind of went up on stage, and because I was really afraid, I decided to talk about fear. And so I said, can I tell you all the most useful piece of advice I've ever been given on overcoming a fear? It was in elementary school, and our teacher had us write the phrase, I can't, on a piece of paper, right? I, lowercase c-a-n apostrophe t. And then even though we were new at like working the scissors, you know, she had us cut off the apostrophe t. Powerful, right? So now whenever I'm intimidated, I remind myself, I car.
You know, everyone has kind of, you know, a couple things or one major thing in their life that they didn't really plan for, or that they hate, you know, or that they're embarrassed of, or, you know, that they feel like they didn't deserve. And that thing is what makes, you know, a person as an individual really special. And you can choose to do with it what you want. Like you can, you know, you can grow from it, or you can, you know, bury it away, or you can joke about it. And so I think that's what makes, you know, individual comedians unique, is when you can talk about, like, you know, your bad thing.
I started seeing a chiropractor in Burlington because I just moved here and I can't just like drive back to Rutland every time I need to be adjusted. So I went there and I told him about my scoliosis, and he was like, okay, and he like checked out my back and he was like, your scoliosis isn't that bad at all. Your chiropractor in Rutland was definitely over-exaggerating. It's fine. However, we do need to work on your crummy shoulders. He said crummy shoulders. Is that like the technical chiropractic term for low self-esteem?
So anyway, my favorite joke to tell is probably the newest joke. Whatever the newest joke is. Like a new joke feels so much more satisfying because it's risky, you know?
You know, as cliche as it is, I think like dating is really stupid. And like I try really hard to make jokes about dating that aren't like dumb, you know? I like joking about like social interactions, and just like times when, you know, you fuck up in, you know, trying to interact with someone. Anything like self-deprecating is funny. Personal trauma is a really good one. Like, you know, if you have like a unique experience like that, you know, I guess would affect your life otherwise negatively, and you can kind of transform it into like art that not only brings people together, but makes people happy. I think that's really great and special and fun. So yeah, you know, particularly it's because there's been a lot of the, you know, religion in the news lately, and with the people saying their gay kids can't live at home anymore. And I just think that that's really fucked up, and I'm not going to do that, because I don't care whether my kid is gay or straight or anything, or like trans. The only thing that I really, really want my kid to do is like date women, because the other, like anything else is really bad. Like I would rather have a lesbian daughter than a straight daughter, just because it means that I have to do a lot less work as a parent. Because it's like as a man who dates women, like it's so nice. Like I come back to our domicile and it's like clean, and they're like doing work on the computer or whatever, and I'm like, hey, and then we hug, and then, you know, that's it. But as a man who is dated by women, I can only imagine how terrible it must be. Because I'm a good man, and I think, and by good, I mean that I'm too busy with being disgusting to be terrible. Because Because you're either one or both. You know what I mean? Like.
So for me, whenever I wanted to talk about serious things, I always wanted to have fun with it. And I always wanted to get people to throw in responses, and that just always made it really funny to me. And then I've since been able to turn that into a program that talks to people about how they relate to their money through stand-up comedy, which is awesome, because it's a subject we never talk about. And when we do, it's in a very intense and sort of painful way, and it's a lecture and all. So to be able to laugh about that and to learn skills is, to me, kind of a sacred opportunity that I've been given.
You can't buy happiness, money can't buy happiness. That's one perspective. I mean, there's a pretty good argument against that, which is that you can buy a jet ski, and that's pretty close.
I think it's really important to like finally introduce feminism to comedy. Not that there haven't been people doing it already, but there's something weird about like every art form has like a feminist subculture, like painting and like dancing and singing. There's always like feminists that are like making really important messages through that art. And I feel like stand-up, there are people doing that totally, like Amy Schumer, Sarah Silverman. Like there's many, like more than I could name. But it's still not something that is super widely recognized. Like stand-up is still very much like a boys' club.
But if everything's fine, I'm not pregnant, but if I did turn out to be pregnant, I was gonna demand a maternity test. Because abortions are expensive, and I'm not gonna pay for that shit if it's not mine.
Man, you know, but I decided I don't want an 8-year-old when I was in Resource the other day, and I saw this like 8-year-old boy and his friend who, you know, both sucked, and they were with one of their mothers, and they were in Resource, which is a secondhand store, and their mother was walking around. They were following behind her, and one of the children had like a kind of like a goop-based toy, you know, like a squishy thing, and he's following behind his mom, and so he's got the goop toy in his hands, and he's doing this probably like every 4 seconds. He'll take his hands and put them over his mouth, and then he goes, "Ugh!" and like holds the goop out in his hand, and he's like, "Look, it's like I threw it up." And then he does it again, and his friend is just like eating it up. like, you know, his friend might as well just like be like at like a Louis C.K. special. It's like the best moment of his life. And he's like, "Mom, look, Mom, Mom." And she's like, "Oh yeah. I'm going to encourage your dreams." And he just keeps doing the thing, and then his friend is like, "Yeah, give me it." And then he's like, "Am I doing it right?" And he's like, "No, you got to do it." And it's like, they just go back and forth with this, like, you know, some like strange, like alien tennis for like literally like 7 or 8 minutes. And the mom, like I've watched reality TV, and I've never seen someone want to kill themselves more than this poor woman in Resource with her son and his shitty friend.
I like to say that when you are an awkward, blurting person, comedy is very easy for you, and real life is very challenging.
Brilliant. Cool. All right then. Well,
Cool.
done. Very lovely.
Maybe I'll do like the abortion joke tonight.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
If you wanted to, so I don't,
I could, like,
so
skip
it's
it
not
in
just
there.
like me awkwardly being like, oh, because it's so hard to tell your stand-up jokes like when there's a one-person
yeah.
audience.
And there's just like this camera. That's
Yeah.
it. It's just kind of like, oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
Cool. Well, awesome.